Hey everyone, Jeff Bruno, your outsourced CFO, coming to you live for acceleratorsorg.com. Hey Shawn Thomas, how are you, man? Just trying to be a little more like you, Shawn, you know what I mean? If you're watching this, sorry I was late, guys. Couldn't get off a call, and it was important, It was a sales call. So everybody knows how important that is in our small business world. But I'm back. And it is, what is it today? Tuesday? Still the early part of the week. Let's get through this week. Now, hope everybody's doing well today. And of course, if anybody is actually live, throw comments out as you'd like. I'm going to start jumping in right into the questions today. We have a few, not too many, but some interesting changes on some of these questions. So looking forward to today, guys. Hope everybody's doing well. Before I jump in, don't forget PPP, the 50,000 level. If I'm sure people are checking the news, but looks like that's essentially full forgiveness. So get that into your bank and get that done. Get that taken care of, please. I'm sure some of your businesses here have had under $50,000 loans. So get it out, get it as income, as other income, and help your financials for banking and other purposes for next year. So starting now with our first question. It comes from Michael Pliley. This question is, when I'm about to hire someone, how do I calculate all my costs for that hire? His business is, he says, I'm about to hire a salesperson or maybe a technician, and I want to calculate all the costs so I understand what it will mean from a cash flow perspective. He is in the air conditioning refrigeration company servicing restaurants mainly. Okay. So, Michael, this is a frequent question, but also a pretty relatively simple one. I wouldn't get too caught up in logistics here. Just lay it out. So, for example, is it a salary level or an hourly level to determine what you're doing for the person? Are you going to give them any benefits? Is there going to be any PTO time, vacation, PTO, sick, all that kind of thing? Holidays off, paid holidays. You got to factor all that into your cost calculation for the year. And then when you're looking at this person, assuming they're a technician, so what would that be? What would that technician be from a direct level? Meaning, if they have 2,080 hours a year of full-time work, how much of that time do you expect them to actually be on jobs versus driving to the job, doing paperwork, looking at a proposal, things like that? Because you want to factor that into the actual scenario for your business. So if they're 60% utilized or 70% utilized, whatever that may be, that is a factor into your cost calculation of how much work they can actually do. And then you want to look at benefits. Are you going to provide medical for them, single, or for a group plan for family if they're interested? Are you going to have ancillary benefits, maybe volunteer benefits? Are you going to have small things like life insurance, disability coverages? These are all things that a small business doesn't dive too much into, but can be additive for attracting talent depending on what industry you're in. So what about 401k or a simple IRA or something for retirement so people can put some tax-deferred monies to work? All of these things are items you should consider. But to dumb it down for you here, and I mean that in a nice way, I like to say you're generally between 1.16 and 1.25 times your salary to get a benefit scenario packaged together. So, as an example, if you have an employee you're paying $50,000, you could assume at 1.2 it's going to cost you about $60,000 annually for that employee. between payroll taxes your company has to pay at about 8.9%. 9% we like to use as an average, depending on unemployment in your state, and other things, benefits, it comes to typically 20%. Could be higher, it could be a little lower. So use that as a gauge. That's the best I could tell you for the moment. Hope that was helpful. So next submitter is Eric Blandino. Eric says, I love the idea of doing something fun with our team for 2 hours during work time once a month in the form of leadership games, escape room, etc. Is this something to be done monthly, bi-monthly, or quarterly? We are a rat exclusion service company, and our techs mostly work in the field independently. There are times we work together on larger projects. I am asking this because I want the techs to learn, bond, and have fun, but not lose the lessons that are being discovered on how to work with each other by the games, if too frequent or not. So, Eric, so this really comes to, there's not too much financial question here in the sense of, I wouldn't be spending, $20,000 a year on fun and games for your team as a small, under 1 million, sub 1 million company. But, $2,000, $5,000 maybe, if you really want to keep them, energized and motivated and so on. Sure, absolutely. Put that in a budget. But what it comes down to here is the culture and dynamics of your company. What do you want to do? How do you want to... Is it important that your techs and your people who are going out to do the mostly field work could benefit by being together? Is there a productivity thing here that could help? Like, oh, John, you did it this way, or, Harry, you did it that way and it's faster, save me some time. I could do 4 appointments a day versus 3. Or, hey, maybe there's a group software collaboration tool you can use where they could cover each other if one guy's sick, or one guy has to go do something personal, or there's something else going on. They could cover for each other. And if they know each other well and they know the other guy's going to do the work right and help them, then that group dynamics can be helpful. Ultimately, I think it does lead to a good culture, and it does lead to better productivity by having these things. I would recommend maybe every other month instead of monthly. Could get a little bit almost. It could be hard to be creative if you do it every month. So just be careful with people getting bored with it. And also, you might want to consider happy hours too. People just like having some food, maybe a drink or two, beer or something to relax at the end of the day. That's something to do if it works in their schedules. So I find that tends to work and tends to get them saying some things that they might otherwise not say. So, but the idea is to definitely move your business forward from a productivity level. So hopefully that helps. Next question is from Lisa Filter. Lisa asks, what % of your dollars should be spent on advertising for a small retail business? And how can I look at it from a budgeting perspective? We own a bridal store in a highly competitive market, one of 40 within 45 minutes drive of each other. Google, then Facebook, and Instagram are the best ways to reach new brides. While we have a niche and differentiate, our reviews are the best. They are still going to 3 to 5 stores on average, some even more. How to curve them to come to one and be done? So Lisa, your question about advertising spend is an interesting one. Let me be very clear here. So you should always budget for advertising. Okay? Always put it in your budget. But advertising as a whole bucket is very, very unique. So I would never, ever, ever tell you. Never. And whoever does is telling you the wrong thing, in my opinion. If you're a small business sub 1 million or even sub 500,000, a percentage of your spend could make absolutely no sense. So if you look at industry of bridal locations or sales, and let's say it's a David's Bridal, for example, they're actually out of business now, but they for a while were doing well, and they had, I don't know, 50 locations. I don't know how many they had. They had a bunch of locations. Now that can go against some industry norms, and you can budget percentage of your annual revenues for an advertising budget. In your case being so small, let me give you an example. So you might have to penetrate a market, like you're saying. You might have to differentiate yourself. And that CAC, or cost to acquire a customer, could be higher due to competition, as you duly noted, or just the space itself you're in could deserve that. The cost could be high. So to say that you're going to do 10% of your revenue, and let's say you're doing $1 million, that's $100,000 spend. That's kind of an erroneous number. What does that mean? What do those dollars really mean? So the other thing to consider, which sometimes people forget, is if you have a location, that location can really be a critical factor in your advertising. So we have recommended at times that people who have a retail operation like you should consider their location as part of their advertising, because without a location they'd be doing it all online and spending a lot more there. So we'd like to lump that into your advertising budget, even though it's your occupancy cost or your rent or whatever that is. But we like to lump that in and then look at a percentage. But still, for you that's small, it's hard to do that. So what I would do is I would do some market research and figure out what are the demands that the women, and in some cases men in this scenario, they might be pushing the women on decisions or driving, or perhaps there's a LGBT contingent that could be in your area. You want to market to those effectively and bring them to your store, and convert them. So you said you're differentiating yourself. So I would ask, how are you doing that? I was pretty amazed where you said you have 40 options within 45 minutes. That is massive. You must be in a pretty heavily populated area. But I would ask, how do you differentiate yourself? I mean, what comes to my mind is, and now me being married and 3 kids, is I would think, well, if my, let's say my significant other or soon to be significant other was coming, and I had a brother or people who were coming or friends who were coming to help the decision making, I'd want to have some things or moms or dads, I want to have some things at the bridal location that could help occupy these people and be very service oriented. So I mean, maybe the friends have to bring kids because they can't leave the kids alone. So maybe you have some video games for the kids to play off in the corner while you're spending time sitting through these dresses, and that sucks people in and keeps them there, because their kids are occupied, the friends' kids. Or maybe you want to have, ways to advertise to the men too, to help them push the wives to the store because they like that store better, and they like having a beer at your location. And I hate this second time I'm using alcohol, but when I go to a hair salon, I have a choice of beer when I get there while I'm getting my hair cut. That's great stuff. People love that. And you get a beer or wine for people to relax while they're choosing their dresses. So I think if you emphasize in your marketing experience, you'd be surprised how that can be almost viral, dragging in people to your location versus the others, especially with all the competition. So, but here's the key to this as well. Track, metric. What are the metrics you're looking for? If you spend $10,000 on advertising, how much do you need in sales? $50,000? $100,000? What is that metric How much margin do you have? I'm going to talk about that a little bit later too, but that's a determinant on how much advertising you want to spend as well. So you got to see if it works. If you see an uptick due to that, and if it's effective, you can even look at engagement on some of the sites to see if you're getting higher engagement from people clicking and this and sharing and so on when you have experiences out there on your marketing. So sorry if I didn't give you a tight, specific financial example, but just doing a percentage of a budget is not a smart thing as a small business. So it's a little bit of gut, a little bit of differentiation, and make sure you track where you're going with those metrics. Hope that was helpful. Next question. Joe Nugent. Joe's business, he owns a home inspection and home watch company in Naples, Florida. He works with people buying a home to inspect it prior to closing to ensure that the home is safe and all systems and components are working properly. I also work with seasonal residents to look after their slice of paradise. His question, in my projected P&L and cash flow statement, how can I understand the effect when hiring a salesperson that is going to have with a base plus commission compensation? So, Joe, so let's dive into this. So, in your market, okay, what do you need? Let me repeat that. In your market, Joe, what do you need? Is it a volume game? Is it an easy sell? Is it just contact sport, as many contacts as you can get going? Is it a sophisticated sale? Meaning, do you need experienced people in that industry to be able to say, well, I came in your house and I saw that, I mean, again, I'm making this up. I saw that a couple of your plugs were a little bit cracked, and I saw that your window security pieces were not working correctly. As with a quick little jump through your house, we could fix that all up for you before you buy it, or for the summer when you're away, things like that. So, do they need to know that, or can they easily be trained by that, or is it just slogging the contacts to get that there and pushing that off to someone else to close it, like yourself? So there's a lot of determining on how you were to bring that person in for that scenario. And then the second question is, do you want a hunter or a farmer? So a hunter is someone who essentially is given a phone book that says, go get it. And they go out and they create a whole market for you and bring in all these new sales. Now there's a farmer who you might have some warm leads or some good connections that can feed them sort of teed up leads that are not necessarily going to close, but that the farmer can farm them and bring them to harvest. So what are you looking for? Because those are different pay scales usually. So let me differentiate that a little bit. So a hunter will have a mindset, I'm going to go after it, I'm going to crush it, I'm going to bring in more sales than this owner knows what to do with, and for that I'm going to get compensated well. So that usually means a higher commission model and a lower base. Maybe a $2,000 a month base and a 15% commission on sales. I'm just making numbers up here, but whereas maybe a more farmer type person would say, well, I'm good at farming this stuff, but I'm just not a phone book, run around the town kind of guy or gal. So yeah, I'd like to have 50,000 base, and I'm good with 5% commission on sales that close. This will help you determine your structure. All of this then needs to be budgeted, meaning sometimes people will put a commission component up in like the variable expenses of in the COGS or the direct cost with a sale, but it really isn't. It is a variable expense, but it has nothing to do with the COGS of your business. So you should budget for what you think that amount is. Now let's talk about that. So depending on the person, okay, like a hunter or a farmer or so on. And depending on your margin is going to also help you depend on what type of person you need to bring in there. So if you tell me that on your products, your margin is, on your sales of your service, your margin is 50%. The tech goes out, does this, you come in, you fix things, the products are this, and due to your pricing, you're at about a 50% margin. So for every $5,000 job, you're getting $2,500 in gross profit. If that's the case, okay, then you can start to set up goals or quotas for your salesperson. Let me give you an example. If you bring in a $50,000 all-in compensation salesperson, let's say it's $2,000 a month for space and $26,000 in commission. That's $50,000. So in a 50% margin business, you might say to them, hey, you need to do $250,000 in sales. That's your quota. Because that would mean $125,000 of that is actually profit to you, of which you're paying $50,000 out to that person. So you're netting $75,000 for your business. That is moving your business forward. That is giving you an effective 30% profit rate on your business, which is probably where you want to target. Maybe 20, 30%. That's probably a ballpark of where you want to be on that. And, well, let's assume there's some other fixed costs, so maybe you're at 20%, but that's ballpark of where you want to be. So you would put that target in place for them and then pay them accordingly. So really, you're talking about that person being about 5 times their compensation in sales volume. Now, let's say you're tighter margins. Let's say you're a 25% margin, and it's really more of a volume game. Maybe you want to tilt a little bit more towards a commission model, because really you need higher volume, because you need that person to do $500,000 in sales to get you the same 125 in net and GP, because you're at a 25 margin. So, and that would them being 50,000 in construct there to get you to about the same profit, 50,000 in pay. So, yes, that's a higher sales level, but in theory, they could, if they did a million, they might make 120,000 because their commission's higher. So they might be more intrigued by doing that than the other way I just told you. Now, I'm jumping around a little bit here, Joe, but this is a great topic. And I think it really depends on what you're selling, what you're looking for, what your structure is with your network, and what you're doing in the marketplace margin-wise. So a lot of things to consider. Very cool topic, by the way. So next, excuse me. Next is Tim Schiffer. Tim owns and operates an e-commerce outdoor retail store focused on hiking, camping, and backpacking. We've been around for 2.5 years and are experiencing steady but not yet explosive growth. Brick and mortar has been a desire of mine since the business started, and was in our 3 to 5 year business plan. So we feel people are disconnected from the outdoors. They're inside all day, yeah, like me, sitting here, under a bad fluorescent light bulb, staring at a screen that's giving off blue light. We should help people. Help people how to live better, more complete life by getting them into the outdoors. So his question is, what are your thoughts on opening a physical retail location in this environment when the trend is going away from that? Tim, first off, love the concept. I'm sure that's been more popular in the last 5 years or so, but I love the concept. Are you in a warm weather location? Because that certainly gives you more availability for year-round there, which is an important factor. But so I would just be very straightforward and ask you this. Tim, what is the point of your brick and mortar? And I don't mean that in a condescending or aggressive manner. What I mean is, truly, what is the point of your brick and mortar? If it's to sell product for your hiking and camping and so on, I would find it very difficult. Now, this is my opinion, but not knowing your business space that well, but I would find that difficult to be a reason to open a brick and mortar location if you're just selling product from your location. So, if, however, you see that as another way for you to grow, let me be very specific. You see it as a key differentiator for you to advertise your situation. And this could be very important on what you're advertising. So maybe you want to reach beginner campers. Maybe you want to work in corporations for executive getaways. Okay? Maybe you want to just be a resource for people to understand what they're trying to do, or like how to get outside and experience some of this stuff. So maybe there are training sessions. Maybe there are best practices. Like, I'm not a huge camper. I mean, I've done it when I was younger and so on. Not a huge hiker. But if I went somewhere and I did 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, someone showed me how to do a Coleman lantern, gave me some tips on how to start fires, said, here's how you set up a tent. You got to be careful of this, and this when you're hiking. Wear these clothes. You can get them here if you want, or you can order them online at Amazon. Here's our Amazon link. All of that would be helpful to me, and I would pay for that. Now, I wouldn't pay $150, but I might pay $40 to come down and learn about that stuff. And that might be a strong angle for you to have a brick and mortar place, so that you can have the stuff there if people want to buy it when they're on site, but you don't have to store a lot, so you don't have to buy a ton of inventory. You can have it at your manufacturer or stored online at Amazon or somewhere, and you can use your space to advertise, train, and entice people about what you're trying to sell, which is really that outdoor experience. I love it, and if it was near me, I would certainly jump over there and maybe even bring my kids and say, kids, come on, we'll do an hour over there. He'll show you how to work these lanterns and set up a tent. So that's where I would go with that. But of course, that's up to what your goal is here. But if it was just to sell product, again, I would say don't do it. Don't do it. So one last question, and this is from Shawn Thomas. Hey, Shawn, thanks for throwing a question in here, man. If you're still watching, probably not. So, Shawn says, without a team to delegate to and without the budget to hire a full team, how did you get things done when you first started your company and it was just you? The background is, I hear many experienced entrepreneurs talk about delegating and only doing the things you are great at, and unfortunately it's only me, and I am just starting. So they don't have the team nor the money to hire a full team. I know I can't be alone in trying to understand how to get everything done on a limited budget, and it is only me. How did you do it when you were first starting? Is it just a mindset? Or where did you go to learn everything and get everything done? Sure. So, Shawn, I love that question, of course, and here's the deal. Mindset is huge. You're an entrepreneur, Shawn. You started this group, and obviously I love being part of it here. But mindset's really important. Drive, of course, is really important. Entrepreneurs are typically very driven, so not usually the biggest issue there. And really surrounding yourself with consistent feedback. So here's the thing. Don't ever forget this. People love to give feedback. Look what I'm doing. I'm on here taking my time to help this organization monthly. I don't mind it. I find it intriguing. I like the questions. Gets me thinking too, so it helps me. I love giving people information that can help them. So most people do. So as you're doing your business, don't get stuck don't get stuck in something. Look for feedback. Maybe you have to take people out to lunch or buy them a cup of coffee, or do a happy hour Zoom until we get out of this COVID thing. But people will be willing to give you advice as long as you're genuine and honest with them about where you're headed. So, to give you my story, when I first started my business in March of 2013, a whole year and a half before that, I was taking my hypotheses of the structure I wanted to do in my service business and asking tons of people while I was still working on my sort of off time or lunch time. I would go out with people and say, here's what I'm thinking. What do you think? Give me honest feedback. I haven't done it yet. Here's where I want to go. Here's my experience. This makes sense. Does this resonate with you as a professional, as a business owner? Would you be interested in these services? And I did that for a full year and a half as I continued to then at the same time build up my network again. So because I was working for a firm for a while, I sort of let my network fall apart. And so I needed to build it back up. So I was doing that. I was building my network back up. And then I plopped myself down in a co-working space that I paid $99 a month for, and I could go in sporadically when desks were available. I think I was allowed to go there kind of once a week or so. So I'd go there once a week, network with people, get a feel, make some calls, pull together my models on how I wanted to do things, and just have a good space to connect and think through things. And then I ratcheted up that as I needed more space to work. And I really was dogmatic, though, about, I need to get this. I put metrics together. My first year, I remember saying, I want to have 5 clients by the end of the year. This was March. I wanted to have 5 clients by December. So I had 5 clients by January. I'd say that's on target. So I hit my goal. I then said I wanted to have 9 clients by late spring. I think it was March or April even. I got to 9 clients. I then said, okay, I'm over my head. I'm going to hire a person. Now, was I ready to hire somebody? No way. But I went out. I stepped outside of my normal scenario and said, all right, I'm going to have to eat some of this money, this profit. I'm not going to make that much at 8 or 9 clients, but I have to hire somebody if I want to get to 15 clients or 20 clients. So I bought the bullet, hired a guy, young guy, and he was incredible. And we sort of partnered up a little bit on it and made a go at it. And it worked. So, now 7 years later, we're 9 people and growing. So it takes a lot of fortuitousness and continually staying on top of it. But the key pieces are get feedback and stay on top of your network, and people will help you. But as far as delegating to a team, I don't recommend that, especially if it's a new idea and you're just trying to get it. Make sure that you see that it works and you have some successful engagements before you bring on team members that can quickly be disenfranchised with things that don't work. That can be your biggest mistake because it could drain your funds real fast. So take your time. I spent a good year before I brought on my first employee. And so you can do it. That's my story, Shawn. I'm sticking to it. So, but hopefully that was helpful today. And everybody, feel free again to hit me up on comments or jeff@yocfo.com is my email. And look forward to every month for this. So we'll be chatting soon again. Thanks. Bye.